That's the, here we go. Let me see if this has a Q. Yeah, of course it's a high pass filter. Hold on. Yay! There you are. So this is a, I would love to use this EQ actually. Let's see if we can get away with it. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Now you can see it larger than life. So let's mute this EQ just for now. We might keep it. We might use it, I mean. So let me bring this back. See, this spot right here on the end is just rumbling. So watch when I move this up. Now, there's nothing, we can add in extra bass later if this kick is not going to be meaty, it's not going to be powerful enough. But we're cutting out what we don't want. I don't like that rumble. It may not look right what I'm doing. It may not be what you would put on a forum. Hey, don't do that. You don't cut that part out, you know, but that doesn't matter. We're working on what we hear, what we feel. This is at about 50. And now what I'm going to do here, though, is switch this. Instead of low pass, I'm going to bring it down to a bandwidth or a notch. And I'm going to bring it up at 50. Remember, we found it at 50. This is the volume. So here is the frequency. We found it. That's 10, 20, 30, 40. I don't even know what this is. So we'll say, oh, yeah, 50 right here. And that's at +8. So that little tiny bit is actually 8 decibels. So we're just going to off, on. Still too loud now. Off. Kind of wimpy. Let's bring down just a little bit down. Okay, so you see this blue? That still shows that there is a notch there. You might not see it on this white line, but it is there. And it is about 3 decibels. And then we can always tell by coming over here and looking at our gain. Why is it only at -14? Hold on. Let me add this meter. Let me look at this meter. We'll see what. There has to be another spot. What are we playing on here? Yeah, okay, there it goes. That was a very soft part of the song. Huh, okay, that's weird. So that's coming at -6. Let me move this meter up. It's actually bringing the volume down. Hold on. So well, we'll leave that alone for a second because we're going to be adding in some highs. So now that we've gotten the fundamental note, we've cut off the bottom rumble. The drum is starting to sound a little bit more powerful. Let me see if I'm still on stream. All right. This drum is starting to sound a little more powerful. We're going to need to remove the woofiness that kind of makes the drum sound a little too amateurish, which is going to be right here in the 200 range. I'll let you hear that so you understand. So we've used the first band, we've used the high pass filter, let's use the second band. We're being systematic about this. And we're going to bring the notch to a great notch. And we're going to bring that up there. We're going, actually, let's make it a little bit wider. And I'm going to move it over here so you can hear me go into it. So that way you're not just, this is up real loud. Okay, now I'm going to just go down into it. Listen. What I'm listening for is like paper, like you're flicking, you're holding a sheet of paper and you're just flicking it. I'm listening for this weird sound that does not need to be there. which is right about there, whatever. See, we don't even know what number this frequency is, which is perfect because I don't want to know the number of the frequency. I just want to know the general whereabouts. Listen to that. So wherever you find the kind of the high note of the papery sound is where you want to go down, but you kind of want to move a little back, bring it down, and increase the bandwidth. So I'll just show you. Right here. So listen to this sound. The reason you don't want to bring it down right there is because there is information there that actually goes on into the next part of the sound, the harmonics of the kick drum. You bring it down right there, it'll make it sound weaker. So we just back off a little bit because when we bring it down, that bandwidth that's going to spread out is going to kind of catch that very edge of that super weirded higher note. Listen. That poo, poo, that pinginess. We don't want to go down right there. We want to kind of go back a little bit where you could still hear it. Let's bring it down now. We're going to bring it down just a tad and then increase the bandwidth. And without it, with. And that damn rumble. I'm just overthinking it here. Let's. And just bring the volume down on this just a tad. And then let's listen without it. And with. It's more controlled, but it's also quieter. Without. With. Yes. All right, let's bring just a tad. Without. See, listen to the amateurish and the rumble. It's like it's all merged together. You can't distinguish it really. It's not sounding like a kick drum that you would hear in a song where you're like, yes, give me more. And then with it, listen. Here's without and with. So we're getting there. I'm going to try, this is down, if this is -8, that means this is -4 at the dot. So that's -3 where we are. I am going to increase that, the bandwidth. And let's see if I... I love the sound. Like you would think that this is too much, but it's just the way it is. Like you don't really know what you're doing exactly until you start doing it, and then you're like, whoa, this seems a little bit too much EQ. I'll just bring it up just a tad though. Actually, no, I liked it where it was. And let's see with the volume difference. It's too quiet. Yeah, hold on. Wait, which it's not the kick right here, it's right here. So it's -3, hold on. Yeah, so it's... No. All right, let me, where's the meter at? Oh, it's not that. It's the damn clipping at the beginning. Hold on, I have to stop it and put it on a different note because it's clipping because I'm starting right at a peak. Okay, there we go. There we go. I was like, why is it clipping at 3? Okay, so there we go. So now let's bring this meter back up so we can hear where... All right, so the meter goes to 7 and 6, and when I put it after the EQ, 10. Okay, so it's not even loud enough. Hold on. Almost. A little bit down. Okay. So you hear the difference in that. I got the volumes pretty much at the same level. And you might think, oh no, that mine version is louder. No, no, that's according to the math on this meter. It's actually 1 decibel quieter than this one. But you're hearing clarity. I'm going to bring up, because it's sounding a little thin. Now we're getting some power. So we've increased the fundamental. We've taken out the mud. The next part is we're going to raise the end. Actually, first off, let's clear out the highs. On a kick drum, we're going to probably raise around 1.5 area for the snap, for the beater. But do we need the information after 14,000 kilohertz? Like, really, what are we going to do with that? What are we going to do with the information after 10,000 so much? Because all that information is going to get added on anyways with the overheads and with, not the room mic, but a little bit of the room mic, yeah, and the overheads. So do we need to waste that energy? And I'll tell you why. Because a lot of mixes, you'll hear this tinny and this bright sound. You're like, why is it so bright? You'll try to turn the bright down with an EQ and everything. Like, why is it so bright? It's because if you don't cut out all that stuff on all the other instruments, even if you can't hear them, all of it starts to add up. So what do? Well, you put on a high pass filter and then you bring it down. Oh, why is it doing that? Okay, there we go. And then you bring it down right about here. That's at 20. Let's bring it to about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that means this would be about 18,000. Let's listen with it and without it. You might not be able to hear it, but what it sounds like a real airy, like if you record a vocal in a mic and you hear that, there's like this weird thing at the top. You don't need that. So let's bring it down another and see if the sound changes. Without. Actually, and it even sounds better because it's more contained. It's got its own space and it's not having all this airiness. You'll start to hear these things a lot better. So this it's even more direct and in your face with that. Now we've cleared that out. Let's add, we only got one more band to work with, for God's sakes. Let's add the beater or something. Let's just see what we find that just gives this kick its beauty. And see, this is what EQ is about. It's not about you got to raise this part or this part. It's about making the sound what it's supposed to sound like. And there's different techniques. You wouldn't go doing the same thing with the guitar. A guitar, you might just use a shelf. And with the shelf, just raise up one side and then a shelf and lower down the bottom. But let's say you want more warmth. You may use a shelf to bring down all the highs and just a tiny bit raise up all the lows. But you don't need to be using notch filters, because what happens when you use an EQ is you disjoint the audio. You disjoint it. So it's screwed up right now. We've screwed up the audio. That's what happens when you use an EQ, and it's fine because we're going to compress it later to fix everything. That's why this is called repair, because you can't just throw an EQ on it and not throw a compressor, because the compressor is what's going to fix the EQ artifacts that are added, which we will do later. We're going to EQ everything first with this EQ on every single instrument. Every single thing is going to use this EQ. And you're going to learn this EQ. It's free. It's a free EQ. And you're going to master this EQ. And when you master this EQ, you see the knobs and how they work. You can translate that without a graphic interface. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's just a little bit easier sometimes. Actually, it makes things a little bit harder sometimes because you start to trust your eyes more than your ears. Either way, it's a lot of fun. So let's bring up the notch really high, because that's what's fun about this. You know, I love doing this. Let's bring it down here a little bit. See, okay, so if this is 20,000 and that's 20 hertz and that's 15,000, and we go halfway, I don't know what that is because it's logarithmic, so I don't understand what numbers, I don't know what these. I mean, that's it right there, probably. Let's bring it home. Let's see some of it without. This is the kick drum before. That's after. Let's raise the bandwidth to make it a little wider and bring the volume down just a tad. You know why? Why we don't need too much emphasis on this high part? We just need enough to grasp the attention of the user if it was played on a small speaker like a phone, that they can hear the kick drum. And there's a lot of techniques we'll use to make sure that does happen if this is not enough. But this is a pop song. Let's listen in context real quick. Like you again, someone in the stars. I did not expect it to sound that good. Like you again. Let's raise up right there. Like you again, someone. So now, do you hear how much of a problem that is? It doesn't even sound like it's meant to be there. So, but if we go back to where it was just subtle and perfect. Like you again, someone in. Like, you know, the kick drum is there, which is all we want. We just want them to know it's there. I will bring up the volume just to right there, right below that little blue dot. Like you again, someone in. And I'll tell you why. Because right now it may sound good, but I'm going to be adding compression to it later and a lot of things, so it may lose its place in the mix. If not, we'll just turn it down later, but we're going to leave it alone like this. This is amazing. Let's save it. Okay, fantastic. Now, we got the kick. What's next? Let's try the snare.